Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Art of Awakening and welcome to this energy update for April 2022. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my downloads that I've been getting around this time, this month of April 2022, as well as a spirit animal reading to support us during this month. And so the keywords that I'm getting around this month, this time, include breaking away and leadership and devotion. And so, first of all, let's address this breaking away concept. Okay, we've just come through this monumental portal of the spring equinox, or the March equinox of 2022. It would be the fall if you're in the southern hemisphere. And this I felt like it was a huge energy portal. And you have probably heard me or other people talk about the bifurcation that's happening on the planet, which is this split of consciousness happening, where the old 3D kind of lower consciousness is being replaced by the higher consciousness, the 5D. But we're at this kind of point at which they're still both very much happening both at once on this planet. And so the feeling I'm getting is that this equinox portal just opened up a new timeline where these two different realities, which of course are coexisting, we are all experiencing both of these, at once, but it feels like it's going to start accelerating the split. Okay. And what is that likely to look like? Well, if you think of breaking away, right? If you think of an equinox as a time of change, right, where things either fall down in the fall, right, they're falling away, the leaves fall off, or they are breaking up out of the earth, right, and coming up. So we're going to have both those forces happening. If you think of spring and fall as a metaphor, right, in a lot of ways, our humanity is in an autumn point right now in the falling away of old things. It's really important right now to remember the law of rhythm, or the law of cycles, that everything goes in cycles or in rhythm, and what goes up will come down, what goes down will come up, right? I will post a video on that spiritual law soon, but I think what can help to understand what's happening to the greater humanity and to the earth as a whole is to realize that it's similar to what happens to the earth, right, in just the course of a year. At some parts of the earth, it's going to be fall, while other parts it's going to be spring, right? It's both happening at once. And so even though this is a revolutionary change that we're happening right now, we are experiencing both at the same time. So what's that going to look like? Well, we're already, you probably are aware of a lot of changes in the outside world, the things happening over in Europe with the Ukraine. You may have noticed supply chain issues. I was recently going shopping and, just watching the grocery store shelves kind of thinning out, less things available. And my sense of it is that we may start to see that kind of thing, these kinds of things accelerating, because what it is just signs of the old infrastructure falling away. And this is only scary if you are only looking at the little picture and don't understand the larger patterns of what is happening, okay? And also, it's really important to be aware of the media is actually a part of the older infrastructure. The media, for the most part, the traditional media is a 5D phenomenon, right? And so the stories that are being shared in a more widespread way, or in a more mainstream way, they're going to really reflect that downward kind of downfall, breaking down, breaking away kind of energy, because that's what's happening with the 5D. What is often not being shared in the traditional news channels, or in a widespread way yet, is that there is the counterbalancing energy of the new starting to come up, okay? And that is also what I'm feeling is we're going to start really seeing accelerating starting at this time. Is new infrastructure starting to be built, new initiatives, and ones that are very, very aligned with the 5D, okay? And it may take some, these may be things that you might be hearing about in non-traditional ways. One great example that I'm actually personally involved in, you probably heard me mention of starting to get into food forests. My partner and I are starting a business, a company to install food forests and possibly a nursery as well. But we're part of a greater cooperative of a co-op called Food Forest Abundance that has the mission of planting food forests everywhere, all over the world. And it is starting to really come together. And I just learned a day or two ago that there's been it's like a $100 million grant that's been that's been funded through this organization that is making available food forests. They're basically looking for land and looking to plant food forests. So if you have access to land, either your own personal land or land that is maybe municipal or public land, anything like that, where a food forest would be appropriate, I am going to leave a link below to apply because it's going to be free of charge. And the idea is that this is a very 5D way of thinking about our relationship with food, and it's actually all these things have come together. So many people around the globe are coming together and pooling their resources, pooling their energies, and it's just this super positive kind of birthing push almost to get this literally the planting Garden of Eden type things get it on the ground and get it moving. That initiative is happening. I know that there are many, many other initiatives happening over the globe. I don't know exactly what they are. Maybe if you're aware of any, put them in the comments below, because these things really are happening. They're getting a toehold. And I'm feeling like starting here in April and from here forward, we're going to see more and more momentum with actually manifesting 5D types of infrastructures, programs, and so forth. Okay, so there's that breaking away, which brings me to the next keyword, the download that keeps coming in. My Akashic guidance keeps talking about leadership. And so leadership is so critical for any kind of change. But I want to say to leadership, I believe that probably anybody who's reached a state of awakening, you're likely going to feel the effects of this breakaway in one way or another. And depending on where you are in your personal journey, it might feel more like a breakdown of being stripped away. And that the reason is because when we start moving into 5D, it holds us to our truth, right? So anything that is not in alignment with your highest truth, with your highest good, is going to fall away. And it's going to happen either voluntarily, where you look at your life and prioritize and say, hey, I don't need this in my life anymore. This is not serving me. It's not serving my highest purpose. It's not helping me to be of service where I need to be. Or if, and I'm included, I think all of us have, it's difficult for the ego to let go of things. And if we don't let go of things voluntarily, the universe will do it for us. So there's no starseed that I have ever met that has reached a point of true alignment that hasn't lost almost everything in some way first. So if that's a process you're going through, I feel you, and there's so much support for you. So just really be aware that both these processes are happening, and that you can jump from this downward. The more awareness you bring to it, the easier it is to jump onto the timeline that's going up. Okay, and so when we do jump on that timeline that is going up, that naturally calls us to leadership. And there are so many ways that one can be a leader. And I'm called to share with you once again this analogy of the bees. I shared it maybe a couple videos ago. I want to reiterate it because I think it's super important. The bee is a spirit animal that really has a huge amount of medicine for us right now. And so when a beehive swarms, when the old queen lays an egg, leaves the new queen in the hive or the egg, and is ready to move into a new location, a new hive, before she does that, the scout bees will go out and look for a new hive. And these are the older bees, the older worker bees in the hive. And they go out and they find multitudes of locations that are possible, and they narrow it down to one. They find the best choice, then they come back to the hive and they start to vibrate. And once that vibration has reached to where almost all the bees in the hive are vibrating together, then these scout bees pick up, they fly straight to the new hive, and all the other bees will follow. Well, the other bees don't follow straight because they don't know where they're going. So it looks very chaotic, but there's just a very few bees in the hive and know where they're going. They fly straight, and the whole hive manages to relocate. And I want to share this again, just because it's so important to recognize that each awakened person who has reached a certain threshold in their journey, who has reached a certain level of alignment, in that process, that awakening process, you find your true north. You find what your soul purpose is, what is really, driving you, and what is really motivating you. And you find it's your love light that you find. And that has a lot to do with devotion, which I'll get to in a sec. But once you find that alignment and start really aligning to your own true north, then you become like one of these scout bees that knows exactly where it's going. It knows where home is, right? It has that vision, and then it's able to fly true. And even if most of the other bees around it have no idea, no clue what's happening, no idea where they're going, they still manage to, somehow it's that certainty of movement that draws them along, that gets them where they need to go, even though they don't really have their own inner guidance in place yet. But they're depending on the trueness of, the faith that the scout bee has, that it's there. So those of us who have reached this awakened state, and if you're still seeking for your purpose, that's great. Okay, that's part of the process, and that's a really important part, because remember, there has to be a critical number, and there's a time between when the scout bees start looking and they have all these different things, and they come back and they haven't reached a consensus yet, where they're all trying to figure it out. Okay, and each one of us goes through that process of, we know we have a purpose, we're not quite sure what it is, we're not sure, whatever, we go through this state. Okay, so if you're going through that and you're feeling a sense of everything's up in the air, that's fine. That's perfectly normal. And that's perfect. It is perfect. But I'm feeling like there may be an accelerated motion now of being, it may be a faster process of finding one's true north and really aligning. Now that we've passed this equinox. And once you do, you become a spiritual leader. And that can happen in any number of ways. Like, we think of spiritual leader as the guru, right, on the mountaintop, or the charismatic leader. And that is one way to be a leader. But there's so many other different ways, right? In sharing, right, your experiences, if you are a creative person creating stories or artwork or whatever it is that can share the story, that's a beautiful way to be a leader. And it's like, it doesn't even have to be the intention on you, it's just sharing that. Another way is just to nurture, like if you're a mother, or if you love to tend plants, or if you take care of animals, whatever it is. Nurturing is a way of leadership if it's done vibrationally in a way that is in alignment with the life force, right? A lot of it comes down to your own personal vibration. Other ways to be a leader: you can be a leader like within a traditional hierarchy where you've got the leaders and the followers and whatever. You can be a leader from anywhere in there, right? So wherever you are in your 3D world, even if you are kind of just a cubicle worker or something like that, when you raise your vibration, other people feel that. It's the vibration that becomes that helps to bring the hive right to the right place. So you can be a leader simply by your presence. You can be a leader in just so many ways. So whatever it is that your soul is calling you to do, whether that be specific actions, specific skills that you're using, or simply being in a high vibrational presence wherever you happen to be, that's your call to leadership, right? That's your true north. When we each follow our true north, that's when the whole of humanity is going to start shifting, or is already beginning to shift and move towards that 5D. Remember also that not everybody is going to do that, and that of course is their free will and their choice. And we're going to see instances of people, or even whole groups of people, that basically fall away in one way or another, right? Be aware that this is their soul's choice, and this is going to be giving them the needed lessons that their soul needs, right? For the entire soul journey, which is so far more than this one lifetime, right? So don't mourn when you see this, but just keep following that own inner calling, the inner vision, right? That brings me to devotion, this is a word that keeps coming to the forefront of my mind, is devotion. And it's this real sense of, what are you here for? It's love, but it's a very focused love, right? So, why are you here? What drives you? What is the thing that you will do anything, right, to serve? And for me personally, I have this vision of this beautiful, vibrant, alive, healthy planet Earth with all the people and living things on it. I have that burned into my third eye, right? And it could be 500 years from now, it could be 5,000 years from now, but I have a picture of this future Earth. That's this Eden, right? That's what drives me. I'm devoted to that, to just the blooming and blossoming of Mother Earth. You could be devoted to anything else, right? It could be the children, it could be, just serving spirit, right? Whatever it is, whatever it is, find what it is that you're devoted to, and really start zeroing in on that and meditate on it, feel into it, and just, you can ask that, ask to surrender to it. Just really surrendering, offering yourself, your gifts, your talents, all that is you, to the higher service of what it is you're devoted to, for the highest purpose, for the highest consciousness and rising of consciousness of this planet and of the universe, right? That's really, I think, the basics of the whole ascension process, is losing oneself and giving oneself in service to something that one really, really loves, and for the benefit of the universal consciousness altogether. And so I'm feeling like that if you know, more and more of us move into that type of practice, it's going to really start to accelerate the upward momentum of consciousness on this planet. And I really feel like April this year is a real point of acceleration for that. So that said, I'm going to pull some animal cards to support us this month. So whatever you are going through, and depending again on where you are at with the journey, in your journey, as well as your soul mission, right? And some of us have soul missions that you know, that ask us to be warriors, right? Not all of us do, but some of us do. So, you know, don't feel like if you're facing perceived challenges that you're, you know, that you haven't come very far in your on your soul journey. It may just be that you're far enough along that you're really, a lot is being asked of you, or that your soul has really volunteered for a lot. Okay, so whether or not we're feeling everything opening up for us at this time, or if we're feeling like there's a lot, you know, that's challenging, I'm going to pull just a few cards to support us. Okay, so this first one is Fox, and I think there's two cards here that want to come forward. Let's see what they are. They are Fox and Badger, and these are both. Though these are interesting because these are partnerships. Badger is coming up as a challenger, and Fox is coming up as an ally, okay? But I want to just kind of turn this around because we're just going to kind of start looking at maybe some of the challenging aspects of Badger, which a lot of it is like they are ferocious, right? And they can be kind of irritable. You don't want to cross a Badger, okay? So this may be speaking to some of the aggression that we're seeing in the world right now, okay? Sides being taken, like digging in and taking sides and being antagonistic, right? That's some of the energy that's happening. You know, this patriotism, which can be a good thing, but sometimes can go on the dark side, right? So I like to, when the cards come up as a challenger, is to flip them around too, and recognize that any archetype, right? Well, you know, any particular card that we draw, any energy that it represents, can manifest according to the law of polarity, can manifest, you know, either positive or negative, right? And so when we start becoming aware of some of these challenging aspects, then it's also really important to understand. I'm just going to start to use the word understand rather than understand, because there's a lot of meaning, and I think it to really understand something from within is an understanding. So we begin to understand that we can transmute these energies by realizing what the opposite polarity is, okay? So the animals are great at showing us these because they embody both the positive and the negative aspects of whatever energy that they're reflecting. And so Badger has, you know, some of the positive aspects are, you know, they're protective. They protect things, right? They protect their space. They have a lot of kind of territorialism, but we all need that in order to protect our space and to protect what's true. Okay, so really the only thing that would be the difference between the positive and negative is that if you're defending something that's really not aligned in the first place, then it could be very negative, right? But if you're putting those same qualities to defend something that is very aligned with your truth and aligned with universal truth, then that becomes a force for great good in the world. All right, so be really, really aware out there of, you know, what really aligns, and be aware that the stories that we hear aren't always reflective of what's actually aligned and what's not. Coming up with the Badger is Fox, and I love these because these are both grounding animals. They're both they go to ground. and they take refuge in the earth. Okay, and so that's something that we might want be seeing here in April is, and maybe it's no coincidence that it's Earth Month, right? Is taking refuge in the earth herself, the energies of the earth, right? Feeling into the energy, feeling the earth as a protective being that has all of our backs, right? And so that that's super important. Um, Fox and Badger have a relationship that is, they work together sometimes. They both go after the same prey, but Badger will hunt underground, Fox will hunt above ground. And so if they're both going after rabbits, for instance, sometimes what happens is the badger flushes them out of the hole and the fox ends up eating them. Or sometimes the fox is hunting and the rabbit goes down and the badger will catch one, right? So these two animals can work really well in tandem with each other. One, I'm kind of seeing in this particular set of cards, the fox being lunar and the badger being solar, okay? So this balancing of the solar and the lunar, the masculine and the feminine, being aware of those energies within you and being aware that each one has a role, right, that they play. And some are more visible than others, and some are like more supportive versus active. And just being aware of, the roles that you may be expected to play and how that interacts, how you can work as a team with others, even doing your own thing. More and more, as you move into the 5D existence, you doing your own thing is going to naturally result in teamwork happening, okay? I'm seeing this over and over and over again, and especially now I'm feeling like whatever it is that you've been trained through, through your life experience to be really good at, you're going to start to hook up with other people or somehow interact with other awakened beings, other star seeds, in ways that are going to really work in harmony with each other. So I'm feeling very, very positive about this period of time that we're moving into, even though it may not seem like it if you're following the mainstream narrative. And then finally, back to that idea of leadership, another really, really important idea connected to leadership is that we also need to be aware of and sensitive to which leaders are worth following. Okay, and I'm not even going to address the big political leaders on the world stage right now, but just the people that come into your life, the people that you're following on YouTube or wherever it is, or if opportunities come into your life, right? You can start to get the feel for and just really feel into it. Feel the vibration of what people bring to the table. Like when I and my partner and I decided to get on board with this food forest movement, what really drew us in was the founder of this movement and just how he just vibrated positivity, and it vibrates from that leader all down throughout the entire organization. You can start to feel that in people, and that will give you a real kind of a North Star or something to follow when it comes time to make choices. Do I work with this person? Do I not? Feeling that vibration of love and positivity, and yes, we can. That's what we want to look at in a leader, and a lot of it is the messaging, right? Is the messaging based in fear? Ultimately, follow it down, right? Because they may give you a bunch of advantages, but if the underlying motivation is fear, that's not a leader that's going to lead us into the 5D. If the underlying motivation is abundance and love and joy and that kind of thing, that's going to lead us into the 5D. All right. So once again, I'm going to leave those links below about the food forest opportunities. And there's also a grant if you are interested in any kind of agricultural or growing initiative that would be kind of 5D related, permaculture, maybe a homestead, something like that. There's funding available. This wouldn't be grants, it would be loans, but it's something that might be useful to you. So I'm going to put that link below as well. And other than that, have a lovely, lovely April, and we'll catch you again soon. Remember, you were born to be free.